call the owner and the 829. Pick it a little fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Carol, okay.
So, I think I printed out a few. I printed out a pamphlet and left it all. I first want to just address the schedule. I know last meeting, I had emailed you guys yesterday. Last meeting we had said we would do next Thursday, but in regards to your guys' concern about only giving consultants a week, I think it was 2 weeks. I was originally tracking on that week. It's now been pushed out 2 weeks, so I can make May 12th. That sounds like both of you can move that meeting as well.
June 12th. Okay.
Yeah. And then Bonnie, are we okay to do it in the
Yes.
in the
Firehouse. Mm-hmm.
So you have on your print material, then I'll project it as well. So then we'll confirm it. So it'll be 3 o'clock to 6:30. Does that work for everybody? I know it's a little bit early afternoon, but then at least my proposal is that we do interviews between 3. We basically give an hour each consultant from 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, and then from 6 to 6:30, we will make a decision. Consultant, and the format that I would propose is that we give each consultant 30 minutes to present to us, give 20 minutes for questions and answers, and then 10 minutes for us to score them. And so what I'm thinking is, because in the RFP, just like we did originally with proposals with the scoring, I think we would keep the same scoring format. It's just a new beginning because it's an interview, and we would go through that sheet again. The only thing is, Ted did it right. You only put X's, but what the X's basically would have meant 3. Like I basically just changed yours to give a score. Yeah. So the tops were 3, 2, 1. So I changed where you were in X's, and we'll review that in a second. Basically, for that, we get 10 minutes after they have it, they would score it. We would then, at the end, just like this, we'll combine the scores, review it. Doesn't mean it's set in stone, and we may have some other things to do it. The board then discuss, and then we. I know Nick is that Nick on the phone.
Yeah, Nick Connors is on.
Nick, yeah. I guess my only question is for this: as we go through the interviews, we're going to go review our combined scores now to see the top 3, and we'll discuss who goes to the interviews. And one question is: the fees are submitted separately. Do we need to wait until the interviews to open up the fees, or can we open them up now to see what the fees are? There, for instance, I'll give a case basis. If the top 3 that we scored, one of them is $100,000 or over our fees, we would know that they legitimately couldn't be in the running. So why would we interview? I guess is my question for you. So is it possible that we review the fees before the interviews, or should we wait until the interviews? Yeah, so typically
we didn't see it.
Well, I think it's planned like that for a reason, so it's not biased. So I think, we already did the scoring initially for the 5.
Yeah.
But so my question is to you is it possible to look at the fees today? Because some of them, I wouldn't want to invite a consultant whose fees are like way out of whack with our budget.
Right.
Yeah, I understand the concern. However, the way that it's set up is, you all will pick the top 3, and, if you choose to, you need to actually have a discussion about those top 3 today, or you need to say, on that, you all just share your scores, you're looking to see something like all, but
yeah,
identify the 3 for the interview, you do the interview, you rank order them, and then you look at the fees. And that way, they're really talking about the qualifications of the group first.
Yeah.
And the second. So that's how we use and to define the thing. Now we will want to you would, crack open the fee schedule for you. And if someone was 100,000, but they might have been the best one, the way
you could always negotiate.
Is intended to find qualified candidates and then look at the fees. So it's 2 different rank orders. One is their qualifications, which you will do between this and the interview, and the other is also looking at their schedule preferences.
Okay. because the town could always negotiate that later anyways, right? Like say, hey, we have this. And then if you don't come to an agreement, then the next person. All right, that makes sense to me, and I just wanted to make sure. Okay, so with that being said, is there any, so then,
Can I just ask one
Yeah,
question
sure.
about that? So do the companies that put forth the RFPs, did they know what our budget is? I mean, it's kind of public information.
it's public information. If they wanted to, they would kind of know. And someone, when we had a pre-bid conference,
Yeah.
some of them asked, some of them knew where the CPC is. It's all
Yeah.
public information, what this piece is.
Okay,
So if they did their homework, they would know.
they should be within the ballpark.
They should be.
Yeah.
We'll see. So, is there anything else? Did anyone else have any questions about this format? Did there's anyone okay with this? And again, no other questions or anything? All right.
Nick had mentioned just a quick note that we'll retain the records procurement, our scoring sheets, whether they be written, digital, doesn't matter.
So I'll forward you everything once we get, I'll give you both of you.
Yeah.
Everything.
Okay.
Once we go through it. So Nick, I guess the last question too, because this is like the first time I'm doing this as well. My proposal was as well is to do we rank when we go and interview, what's the scoring procedure to basically evaluate the 3 consultants that we interview? Could we use the same scoring sheet, which is what I thought would be fair through the RFP, that we would go and redo that again? Because then you at least have a basis of what was in the RFP to go through it? Or do you think it's simply a ranking between 3 people that we just say 1, 2, 3, or I guess the question is how would you propose we do it?
That's up to you all. I think what you're suggesting makes sense, could use a similar, sort of scoring rubric, because it is what was requested of them, so what they would like to be prepared to discuss. You know, a little different to be honest, that in their interview process. If your preference, however, was just to say, like, we are the 1, 2, 3 and not highlight it, that's also fine. We just need to make sure that, and I think we find that I will retain records when you all are done, so that if there's any recurring questions that come up in the future, so there's a minimum period that we can take the records and all that type of thing. So it's up to you all to decide. I think that the thing that's most logical is you use the same sort of buckets of scoring that we did on this evaluation, because that type of PR and the going on.
Okay.
That's sort of the basis for all their proposals.
Yeah,
and I assume for their presentation.
Okay, so is everyone clear with that? I think that was the easiest thing. I thought, I was like, okay, and it's literally in the RFP. This is how it's going to be ranked. We've already did it once to get down to 3 people. It's basically a new slate. So I'm going to open up now our scoring sheets. All right. So the 3 of us, I scored, Ted scored, and then Carolyn scored. So we basically got a bunch of evaluation criteria. Probably there's A through E, A through F. And then we were given basically from 1, 2, and 3. If you're highly advanced, you'd get 3 points. Down to D would get you no points. So it's 3, 2, 1. So if we marked in the boxes, they would get ranked accordingly, right? And so, first of all, I just want to say thank you to all the consultants. I think all of them are really high quality proposals, right? Yeah. So it was really a hard exercise to begin with, because I think we had 5 really highly qualified consultants, and you'll see in the scoring that they're pretty close, and there's some that are like, you know, that they are very close in the end, but
You almost have to.
Yeah.
Like,
you had to do a lot of.
I mean, you have to like give someone a score 2 when you really want to give them 3, just
Yeah.
because you don't want everyone to have 17s or whatever, or 18s, you really
Right.
have to be something.
Right. So I will say that, you know, straight off the bat, that all these consultants were really great, and we really appreciate all of them going through. That being said, to get down and whittle down. So for me, and then I had just put there, so the total scores were on one line, and then I just put a ranking in based on my scores. I just put it there just so you see I had time bond.
I think that's mine. I think it's just Ted's, isn't it?
No, this one's mine.
Starting to the right.
This one was mine. So that one was mine.
Got it.
Yeah.
So I think-
So yours is next. So I had tie and bond with a score of 17, and then I had CHA and Barry Dunn and basically 2-3. So they were 17, 16, 16, and then I had Gail probably in fourth position, and then SLR in fifth position. So then Ted's is next. He had also tie and bond ranked in the first one, but tied with Gail, so that they were both up top with 15. And then his third position was CHA, with Barry Dunn close there with 13, and then SLR at 11. And then Carolyn, her last one was Barry Dunn was in first with 18. CHA was with 17, and then the third was tie and bond. So if we combine these scores, you can see they're pretty close. You have three consultants within a point. So it was pretty clear that tie and bond was in first, because I think we had that at 48. But the other two was CHA was at 47. You can basically say tie for second place between Barry Dunn and CHA at the three. And then the remainers were Gail was in fourth, not too far behind by a few points, like per se. I think they're really close. And then SLR was down the fifth place. So I that's the scoring. And if you guys want to discuss, I think the scoring speaks for itself. For me, the highlighted firms, the three, that's what I would recommend as putting it forward. As putting those firms forward. Really, it was really tight. So can I get a motion to?
I'll make a motion to put, I need to scroll up to see this.
Yeah, I'll give you the three. Tie and bond.
Time bonds,
CHA.
CHA, Barry Dunn as the three firms we want to bring into interview.
Okay. So then, all right, roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Rob, yes. So, I can reach out to the contact at each one of these. What I would suggest too is that I would go first to time bond since they ranked first, give them the opportunity to pick this time slot in, and then I'll lead open the other two. Typically, when you do this, for they'll want to either go. If it was my firm, I would want to go. That's usually the way it goes. And then I'm going to forward them as well as the first sheet. That first sheet that just explains the format and what they're expecting, so that they have a half hour questions. And so I'll forward that to them, and then try to lock in the date. I think we're pretty much set to go for that. Lastly, I think on our agenda, or at least on this town master plan, was questions and answers. You had asked that. I had just compiled some this morning because I like to brainstorm before I came in here. We can add any of your questions to this, but I can just go through some of the questions that I had on the top of my mind. Some of these may end up getting answered in these or whatever. But my first question was, who would be named? I think it's important to figure out who's like the main point of contact during this thing and what their experience is with similar recreational use. Yeah, you never know though. Yeah, you never know. And who else? So a lot of times people will put a team together and are you making sure that the right person is the point of contact? So it's good to ask. My second question was community engagement is a critical element of this project. Can you join that and collaborate with all stakeholders? My third question was experience with financial plan, financial forecasting. I think that's going to be a big piece of this, knowing our town. How do you go and finance this thing?
Yeah,
it would be nice.
That's my biggest part of this is great. Yes, anybody can come out and make every single field like Gillette and in front of that park.
Right. How do you leverage
stay within?
Not like they're broken down by each actual park too.
Right.
This is what it costs.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
This is what it costs. estimate.
Yeah, we need like a ballpark estimate, I think, for all of these pieces, and then to figure out over the 10-year plan, obviously, like, let's say this master plan costs $10 million. Is it too, it would just be good to ask the consultant, like, how do they see us managing this? And what's their experience with, municipal governments, like, folks that have used CPC money, or I think that would be crucial, especially with a town like ours that doesn't have a lot of financial resources. So it's figuring out where to get capital improvements throughout. So I think that one's a really important one. And then I think on here in the proposal, they also have gone through the project schedule, and maybe that will get answered during the interview. But it would be nice to know, just for them to review the project schedule, the milestones, the dates, and like when do they expect it to be done.
And you could, add to that too, like, can you give examples of projects that have been on time, projects that have gone over, things like that?
Yeah.
If they talk about projects, they're out of.
Yeah, I think giving concrete examples
Yeah.
is going to be important. So even like community engagement, can you give us an example of when, you had to work with the neighbors?
Yeah.
To make something happen, how do you?
So give examples of projects that have kept on schedule or have overrun schedule. I'm guessing there's probably more on the client and not that, but and then my last question was analysis and design of our fields and facilities. One of those projects, how will your team address this component? I'm specifically asking that question to some of these consultants are planners, some of them are landscape architects. I saw in some of your notes, like Weston Sampson's a landscape architect, Time Bond's a landscape architect. CHA to me has always been like more financial and a planner that way. So that may differentiate that between. So I think that's a big component of this piece. So that was my questions that I had off the bat. Do you guys have any other questions that you could think of on the top of your head? Or the other thing is, between now and 2 weeks, we can also, you could also forward me your question.
Yeah,
right?
I'll do that. I'll definitely send you some. I'll definitely have like one around or several around. Milton is very unique.
It is.
We have such a lack of space.
Yeah.
We don't have enough Plymouth. It'd be easy for these companies to come in Plymouth and say,
Oh, let's go. Let's take over
This
this.
is what you should do. So I want them to give examples of town or like, I think you probably know that we are extremely, there's no fields. It's like this, not much here. Give examples of on the town. How they can handle that? How are we gonna?
And are they gonna address the open parcels that we have, like up the dump road?
Yeah, so I think that was a part of our RFP, was the last remaining parcels were on the dump road, and we know that they're brown, right? So that could be a question that, hey, listen, to your point, is we don't have a lot of space, we don't have land, just out there, but in the land we do have our brownfields, which is a whole nother complication. Have you addressed that before, and is that fun? I know there's got to be state for brownfields and such, so that would be a good question. Like, how do you go about that? Because to renovate a brownfield type site, it's going to cost way more. Just a piece of land.
Rob, what's a brownfield site?
So sorry, brownfield is like, so because it was a town dump.
Yeah.
There's like, when we went out and looked at it, there's cars there. It's basically,
If you go up the dump road, before you hit the dump.
Yeah.
To the right,
Okay.
so that we've somehow got hold of that land, which is great.
Yeah.
And it's a tough spot,
Yeah,
but it's ours.
right.
That's ours. So if we could, you need to remediate everything that's there. So I believe there's state funding and such for brownfields. Who knows with the way the government is these days? So I don't know, but it's absolutely a question. I think that's a good one. That about expansion opportunities. So it's not only looking at this current stuff that we have, but also looking expansion. There, I think those are pretty much the only parcels left really for us to try to figure out, and they are included. So another component of this as well is Curry College, Milton Academy. These are all stakeholders that hopefully will process so that we maybe to figure out what they can do to help us. So I'll capture that later, and then if you guys in the next 2 weeks, if you have questions, forward them back to me, and then I think what I would do, like during the interview, I'll open it up to both of you. One of you, I think, should just take up the asking questions on process. So over the next 2 weeks, just forward some of your questions, all right, and any of the park staff as well. But if you guys have other additional questions that aren't here, then just forward them to me, and then I'll get them included. Okay? And then we have that 20 minutes or whatever. Some of these will be easy, I think, probably might be addressed by some folks.
What's the structure of the interview going to be? You're going to give them like 10 minutes to get into
30 minutes presentation, 20 minutes questions and answer, 20 minutes of questions. Yeah. And then 10 minutes we'll take then. Once it's done, we'll wrap it up and say, okay, we go back to our own spreadsheets and right after, and then we go on to the next. So that, is there any other questions regarding this process? You guys all feel confident? Get with it and put this to bed, and May 12th will be the, or sorry, June 12th will be the next date that we all get together. Good?
June 12th.
June 12th. All right, so then, yeah, I think we're all set.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So I think just lastly, for this meeting is we just wanted to cover like any new business with Kevin. I think that just something to note is the CPC applications, the eligibility applications are due tomorrow. So there's one for, I guess it's both of them are going to be under us as a combined application, at least I would know of. The one is for the field, the reconstruction of dangerous field, the soccer field. And you have all that, you have that all set together. It'll go out today.
We don't know about how much.
CPC, roughly around 180, but that's all based on if we get money from capital.
How much do we need from capital? What's it going to
100.
cost? 300.
But capital gave us nothing last year. And that's the first.
300 include a fence?
So that we have some wiggle room there. I don't know if you guys want a fence yet, so
Maybe we're going to fight a fence. I would like a fence, but maybe
Most people have fence, but
just makes it more like soccer field.
it would be 4 feet high, just a rectangle.
Nice.
Yeah.
Parents could stand around it.
it would help maintain the field.
Right.
I'm totally on board, trust
I mean, there's plenty on
What
there.
isn't on board, the neighbors?
Maybe walking dogs.
me. The dog walk.
We don't know that they're not.
But they would still have space to be able to go up.
I think we crossed the bridge when we get.
We can vote on it next meeting.
Yeah, I don't think just for the eligibility application.
We just gotta get it.
Yeah, we gotta get it. And then the other application is looking at reconfiguring the dugout at Gia. So it's the pitching warm-up area. I might have spoke about it last time. Kevin and I went out there and looked at it. The issue is the hill that's coming down. There's a lot of drainage off that hill. So it needs to have retaining. And if you want to, you spoke to a few.
So I've spoken to a few contractors who are interested in the project, but obviously it's not up to bid, but you have to put a retaining wall back there. You have to. Now the question is how big, how long, but to do the project right, you have to do a retaining wall.
The retaining wall would go from like, you're deep in right field, how far down, to go behind the dugout all the way?
No, you can't because there's a light post back there.
So we just
And there's a
go,
light post to the left, an old one, that you have to stop there. If you're down there in the gold.
Yeah, you'll see, it's basically just where the pad is.
But we could put a gravel path walkway around what you were talking about.
I think we should do
a
that.
3-foot pathway.
I'll be honest, like the last couple I've been there how many times, and it's pretty awful because we have to come in now. So, like, we've had coaches have to like come all the way around to go back in that dugout.
Yeah.
And it's really hard. We need to find access to that project. So I think we can figure that out later. But I think to your point, it would be good to just even put something, just a little bit of a walk.
We had 3-foot walkway, gravel walkway, we can do it. That will be part of it. And just to let you know how CPA works, I know Rob does, Ted does. So you ask for money, obviously, but you have to have the people using the product involved in it, and you have to give monetary value. So our next meeting, we'll have some figures about what Park can contribute to these two projects, what softball is going to contribute, what soccer and lacrosse. And I've reached out to Fompon as well because they use that field at Andrews. What everybody can contribute, and then we'll have better numbers. But we can't vote on it or anything yet. So
but we do need to put it. So like, it's just an eligibility application. So Kevin and I will put in numbers, but then we'll have to vote on it later to get it. Things can change between an eligibility application and the farm application. So if those numbers move around a little bit, fine, but we want to make sure that we're like close. We're not just throwing in like, oh, we think the project's 30,000 and 70,000 or something. We have a pretty good idea on the estimate. And then of course, if we can get other folks in and invested in the project, it'll look good in that application. But for final numbers, on our next meeting, we'll put it on our agenda and then we'll vote. I forget when the final ones do. I figure it's like 3 months or something. September. Is it September?
I think it's right after Labor Day sometime.
And no one else in town has come to you.
I don't know. I reached out to somebody else about Heavily. Okay, I have not heard back.
Okay.
Surprised in all the projects.
I spoke to them a few weeks ago and I said, why wouldn't you just put it in just in case?
Yeah.
I'm like, just in case there's a $200,000 shortfall from who you are now to where you are at, but it's also their application. I've reached out and said,
I talked to Bill Madden.
Oh, and what he said?
He said he was going to reach out to them.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay. Well,
I can't make them do it.
Yeah. But like, if the longer it goes, we're only a year. Yeah. That goes by quick. So but it's up to them. I think the CPC would be, they have that project. It's just earmarked. They wanted to, here we go. It's a year away.
10% has to go.
A question on the June 12th meeting too. Do you want that to be our June meeting?
And I think, I would do it. So I think
we could do the 2 votes.
And if there's anything that we need to discuss, Bonnie, just add it to the agenda.
Right.
If there's not anything,
So can we do, and I wouldn't do, we shouldn't, I guess we would have to do public comment? Is the only other thing. If it's like a regular meeting, we're gonna have to do public. That's gonna be the hard.
Is public comment.
Which is gonna prolong all of this.
Right.
It's already a long meeting. It's a 3.5. I think we should separate the meeting.
Okay, that's fine. I just didn't know what you guys want.
Okay, separate the meeting. Okay.
What do you?
Yeah, and as long as I know in time, I'm happy to add whatever to the agenda. As long as I know in the 48-hour window that I can add it,
I don't think there's yes, correct me if
I really have, the only thing I have right now are the 2 votes. That's all I have on the CPAs.
I mean, is there any, but there's no urgency. Right? I mean, we can wait till July.
No, you can wait.
So what if we do that, we do the interviews on June 12th, and then the next, I guess for now, we should figure out another date for July. And then make that our regular schedule. Then this stuff will be done, and then we can take that up. Then, so what works, obviously, is this, what Thursday works? I wouldn't do the 3rd before the 4th of July. The 10th or the 17th.
I'm good with the 10th and the 17th.
Yeah.
Either work for me.
I don't want to be.
I'm always the challenge. I never know where I'm gonna be. I think. Part of the dental appointment that day, which means I should be, the 10th seems to work right now for me. Does that work for you? So does that work for you guys? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that will give us a month or whatever. So why don't we, that'll be our next one and we'll do it here. And then we can address that and then.
Sounds good.
Does that sound good?
Yep.
Paul, you got anything on your,
No,
you're all set?
He'll probably be down the
I won't be here.
camp, so.
All right,
So for all, July or everyone.
Is that Canopy Day?
all right.
July
I think that's.
What is? That's can't look fine.
I'll be, standby.
I just good, yeah, I've been good. Big group? Yeah. Well, kids from last year, oh my God.
You want to keep those? You have the printouts
Yeah.
and you have printouts, you can keep them. If you want. Everyone good?
Do you have all digital scoring sheets?
Yes,
Or
I'll email.
just forward all of them?
I'll email all of them. That
Okay.
combined Excel sheet, I'll forward it to
Or
you.
just send it to,
I'll send it.
see, yeah, to Nick also. Yeah.
And then I'll reach out. Whoever. Right. Motions. Yeah,
Yes.
yes. All right, thanks guys. Look at how